Alright, welcome to Thor's 100 subscribers video.
He might not be.
You might not stay up here very long.
He might not stay up here very long.
Anyway, we're going to tell you his origin story, as it may be.
Okay. We first met Thor when he was about 6 weeks old. I know a lot of you are like, 6 weeks old? He shouldn't be away from the mother at that point. Oh. The person who we got him from got him at that age. We work at an apartment complex, and his owner had pit bulls before, but
due to medical reasons wasn't able to continue to care for Thor, as he was going to be gone 3 times a week for most of the day. And a growing pup, especially high drive dogs like Thor, really need to have the attention and training and all that. They need constant attention.
quite honestly, if we didn't take him, he'd probably be in a shelter, which, by no fault of his own, he'd probably get put down because of what he is.
Which is unfortunate because the pit bull breeds, they get a bad rep, and it's really no fault of the dogs. It's bad owners, media, and legislation that paints them in a negative light. Now, there is a smidge of truth to that, but that's only from negligence on the owner's part for not doing their diligence in training them and properly socializing them. Pits, they're generally really good with people, but they can be unpredictable with dogs and other animals.
As evidenced by some of Thor's antics going after the forbidden kitty and wanting to. They have a high prey drive. He's barked at. We live in a very small village of 700 people year round. Now it swells during the summer because snowbirds like to come up here because it is supposed to be cooler. I haven't seen it. Anyway, they come up here. So our town swells from 700 to
2,500 right on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to Thor. He was getting a little too much for the previous guy that had him. And like we said before, that's no fault of him. It's just medical issues and stuff getting in the way and all that, and it gets hard to take care of a busy dog. But anyway, Thor had accidentally broken his glasses, and he was getting ready to put them up for sale, and he knew that Jen was looking for an ESA. An ESA is an emotional support animal, if you don't know. So he texted us and said, "Hey, do you want to take the dog?" Which at the time, Thor wasn't called Thor, his name was Nico. That was the name given by, I believe, the breeder up in Rogers City.
I didn't like it. Like I said, I have seen Thor since he was a little itty bitty potato. That's what he looked like. And
I'll include pictures in this video so you can see him at that age. His eyes were still gray.
His eyes were still gray. He was a little itty bitty potato. Quite frankly, I wanted him even then. He was such a cute little itty bitty potato.
So, Thor was born October 28th of 2021. And we had gotten him right before February 28th. So, he was 3 months old and 3 weeks when we got him. He was just shy of 4 months.
Sweetest.
I've sprinkled some video clips from that in about the shorts. 3 months and 3 weeks.
Waiting a little bitty tiny Thor.
We've watched him grow from being basically a 35, 40 pound dog into the 75 pound house hippo that he is.
He keeps us busy.
Now, when we first met Thor and our tenant had gotten him, he was told by the breeder that he was a pit bull lab mix. At the time, it seemed like that was possible, but as he got older, I started noticing that there was actually not a lot of anything else in him, really. So we decided to have Thor DNA tested to find out for sure what he was, and we went through a company called Embark.
And they go through the...
Embark is ran through Cornell University.
Cornell University. But they use, for genealogy and pedigree. What do they go through?
The American Doctors Association.
Yeah, the American Doctors Association. So...
But Embark is nice because they look at over 200,000 genetic markers across 350 plus breeds of dog. And the way they look at the DNA is also unique in that it's more of a microarray that they put the DNA on, and they can sequence it a little bit more accurately than through some other method. They look at both the maternal side of the DNA, which is the mitochondrial DNA, and then they look at the paternal DNA. If you don't know, your mitochondrial DNA is passed down from the mother. All your mitochondria come from your mother. The rest of your DNA, paternal DNA, comes from your father. So we did a swab on him, sent it in. Come to find out that that swab didn't have enough DNA on it.
I don't know why. He covered it in spit.
But whatever. So they sent us another swab. I made sure to get the swab extra goopy with dog saliva. Sent it in, and about 3 weeks later, we had gotten word that he was actually 100% American Pit Bull Terrier, which was a nice surprise.
Because we were expecting, it's like, oh, he's a pit lab mix. So we were thinking, oh, let's see how much he actually is a pit bull and how much is lab. But when we got the DNA results back, it was like, oh.
It was a nice little surprise. And I've had other dogs in the past. I've got a purebred Karen Terrier when I was growing up in my teenage years. And then in my childhood years, we had a purebred Chinese Short-Bag.
So he's had instances of purebred dogs. Me, I grew up with an Akita Lab mix, which originally was was listed as Akita Chow. So, 80-pound hippopotamus, not much bigger than him. He's still got growing to do. He might be bigger than him. So,
well, I don't think there's going to be much taller than what he is now. I don't think he's going to be much taller than what he is now. He's already big for breed as it is now. Breed standard being 21 inches is standard tall of 20 feet.
he has long legs.
He's probably going to pick it up and fill out more. But I don't see him getting too much bigger. He probably will cap out at 90 pounds. 90 to 100, somewhere in there. he's big for the breed. And I've had some naysayers on other YouTube channels, I won't mention their names, that will swear all up and down because we don't have the pedigree, the lineage, that he's not a true pit. It's kind of hard to argue a genetic report that says 100% recommended terrier.
Coming from one of the best veterinary schools on the planet, Cornell University. They're known for their genetics and their veterinary programs.
So, after some back and forth with these guys, I got one of them to actually admit that, yeah, he's a non-conditioned dog, meaning non-standard. He doesn't conform to the breed standards. But by him admitting that, was him admitting that he is, in fact, what the DNA report says he is. And what these two guys fail to understand is, yes, while we may not have the pedigree to back the DNA report.
Although we are working on getting his pedigree.
Yes, we are trying to track down the breeder and getting his records and all that as well. But it's so far proven very difficult because the guy that we had gotten him from can't remember where he got him from. And he's lost the records of when he got him. So we're trying to get the paperwork, but we're kind of hitting a brick wall.
Exactly.
But back to what I was saying, how they're saying he's not a pit bull because he exceeds breed standards. They fail to understand that you can breed a purebred dog to be larger than standard if you only breed the biggest dogs from each litter and only breed from those biggest dogs. You will eventually create a dog of pure DNA that is larger than standard. And I think that might have been the case with Thor. You know, it's with genetics, you're going to have a little variation in the breed. But if you pick the biggest dogs and only breed of that, you're going to have a bigger than standard dog.
Which is what he is.
It would be nice to have his bloodline and pedigree and all that.
So that we know where he comes from. And I know a lot of people say he's like, it's like there's too many pit bulls, there's too many dogs in the world. Why are they breeding these dogs?
That's also funny because I had somebody comment on a video that there's too many animals on the planet. It's like, I don't know. I don't think there's too many dogs. There's 330 million people that live in the U.S. and this is an estimate because it's constantly changing. But there's something around 89 million dogs that live in the U.S.
Now we do realize that there are irresponsible owners, and sometimes these dogs get loose and then become strays or they're born outside. That epidemic is here, and it's not just here. And you hear about it a lot with cats, but it does happen with dogs as well.
Unfortunately, due to the way that pit bulls are classified, they don't specifically look at any one particular breed. They lump a bunch of dogs into a category and call them pit bulls, and it's not necessarily true. There's a bunch of dogs that are pit bull-like, that
Like-
aren't true pits.
For example, the American Staffordshire Terrier.
Right. The Staffordshire Terrier, the Staffordshire Bull Terrier, and the American Bullies, they're considered pit bulls because of their physical features, even though they're not pit bulls.
No, not. The only true pit bull is him.
Now, I'm not saying people that call their staffies or bullies pit bulls wrong. I'm not saying that at all. But because there are the four main pit bull breeds and a bunch of variations of mix. You have anywhere between 4 and 13 different breeds and their variations that get lumped into the same category of pit bull. And because of that, when you look at dog bite statistics, for example, these statistics report pit bull bites at 60% of all dog bites.
Wait, here's the thing. There's anywhere between 4 different dog that are classified as pit bulls. Quite frankly, it could be a lot of staffings. That's where the bite. I don't know about that.
But the thing is, every time I question people on the statistics, they never seem to give me the exact breed that's the sole responsible cause of it. When you have a dog that makes up 20% of the dog population in the U.S., the pit bull category makes up 20% of that 89 million dog population that's here. It stands to reason with that large of a sample size of dogs that the statistics are going to reflect a higher probability of bite. So that 66% stems from 20% of pit bulls in the U.S. So I don't like the statistics simply because it doesn't tell the whole story. Then when you go into actually investigating the individual cases, a lot of times the dogs that perpetrated the attack and bites and all that, they're dogs that aren't properly trained and not properly socialized. They might be abused. They come from families that are broken. Others might be violent. You know, dogs pick up on your personality. They pick up on your emotion. They pick up a lot from us and how to act. So, if you have a dog that's in your family and you're a more violent person, your dog is going to learn from that.
Does he look vicious to you? Is he vicious? No.
Well, granted, he's 9 months old and still a puppy. But we do our best to socialize him with people and other dogs. And at a fairly regular interval. We would like to get him to the dog park every weekend, but that's not always feasible with our job and money and all that. So at least every 2 weeks he goes to the dog park and has some fun.
Even some other YouTube channels, I'm not going to call them out here, but they basically don't recommend that you take bully breeds
to the dog park.
To the dog park.
Which I can kind of understand where they're coming from because it's an uncontrolled environment. When you have other dogs running around and everybody is off leash, there's a little less control there. So what we do with Thor, if there's dogs at the park already, we'll lead them up to the fence on leash and let them just sniff the other dogs that are there and get, the doggy introductions out of the way. And then we'll lead them around and into the dog park itself. And we only take them off the leash when I can see that things are going to be good to go and nice and he's going to play. Which, more often or not, that's the case. He does his little introductions, things calm down, we bring him in, and he's cool with all the other dogs. We'll even play with the other dogs, he does all the sniffs. And, if he's not playing at the dog park, he's keeping to himself. But with him, I've noticed, compared to my other dogs, when I introduce him to dogs, sometimes it has to be a little slow. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with introducing a dog that he may not know in a manner that's slow and controlled versus just taking him off the leash right away. But all in all, he does fairly well with other dogs. And he's definitely people friendly.
Oh yeah. He may bark at you. But
yeah, he'll definitely bark at you, but when you present yourself as not a threat to him and let him come and sniff you, once that tail starts wagging, that's when I know you're good to go. He's dropped his guard. He's cool with your presence. He's alright with you being there. And after that, you're pretty much good to go with him. He just has to get to know you first.
And like how we showed how to approach him, it's like hold out your hand like this. Let him sniff you. You do.
And
don't reach for him like that.
right. You don't want to just grab at the dog and try to introduce yourself to a dog you don't know. I learned that one the hard way when I was younger. And I got bit. I had the scar on the palm of my hand to prove it where a dog's canine had punctured my hand. And it was all because I didn't know any better. I went to reach for the dog to pet it. The dog didn't like that, and I didn't pick up the body language of the dog because at the time, you know, when you're 11, 12 years old, you don't think about that. You just see, ooh, puppy, I want a pet. Well, I went to reach for the dog, not picking up the signs that the dog really didn't want me doing that. Went to pet, and the dog latched onto my hand.
Oh.
I didn't need any stitches or nothing like that, and the dog was basically put in quarantine, I think, for a week, and then returned back to their owners once they determined that this dog, there's nothing wrong with the dog. It was just how I approached a dog and presented that they didn't like. So I had it explained to me that instead of reaching for the dog, present palm up, don't reach for them, just present and let them come to you. That goes for any dog, not just pits and other bully breeds.
Exactly.
Because the dog I got bit by was some sort of shepherd collie mixed looking thing. It was smaller than Thor, I know that. But it looked like some sort of shepherd. It wasn't a German shepherd or nothing like that. It was probably the size of like an Australian shepherd. But it didn't have the coat coloration or anything like that. So, Thor is 9 months old now. We've had him for a smidge over 5 months. We watched him grow from just a little potato to the big giant pillow pibble that he is now. He's been absolutely nothing but a good dog. He's got a fairly good temperament about him. He's not super reactive to other dogs, and part of that is working with them and getting them socialized. And he's not super reactive to people. He might bark initially, but once he gets to know somebody, it's fine. You know, it's usual dog stuff.
Like he'll still bark at people who knows.
Oh yeah, he'll bark at first, but that's because he's excited. And I've learned with Thor, he's got like 3 different kinds of barks. He's got a high-pitched excited bark that's playful, or he's excited. And then he's got like a normal bark, where he's just kind of like a doggy talk or something. And then he's got a serious bark when, yeah, you might not want to mess with him.
That and grunts and grumbles and protesting.
He does like the protest. It's pretty funny. If he doesn't get his way, he's barking.
And grumbling.
Good boy. So anyway, that's Thor's 100 subscriber video, proper introduction. Come here, you.
It's gonna protest.
Yeah, he's a good boy. He's a good boy. I know it's my best.
Yes.
That's Thor 100 subscriber special. It's a little bit of his backstory. Where we got him. What his name used to be. Used to be Nico. No longer Nico. He hasn't been Nico forever. I got a bunch of my face. And thanks for subscribing. Thank you for the watches, the views, the likes, the shares, even just commenting. We appreciate the engagement and having conversations and talking to the viewers like you.
Yeah.
It means a lot and it helps the channel grow.
Yeah. And if you guys want, keep sharing the video, keep liking, and help other people subscribe so you can see more cuteness.
Yep, and the point of the channel